So this morning, I'm going to talk about the alignment of heart and mind and how important that is to sort of liberating ourselves from the past so that we can curate a future that's based on um, our own unique path, our own unique desires, uh, our what we're here to express. Um, and I'll start by just defining mind. You hear it a lot, like it mostly we kind of denigrate the mind, Eastern philosophies and spiritualities. And I'll tell you what mind is to me after sort of studying this for some time and feeling into it for myself, just to clarify before we continue. That when they talk about the mind as something we need to transcend, invariably what these teachers are talking about is actually the brain. And the brain is a wonderful organism. So we're not denigrating the brain at all, but that's essentially the brain is calculative, and it is predictive. It's a predictive instrument. And what does it predict? It predicts uh, what's going to happen in the future based on the past. So when we're in our brain, we're in this mind that is basically reliving the past based on its considerable predictive capacities to predict. In the case of, just call it trauma or failures of love, predict more of the same in the future. So this mind uh, locks us into the past because we become pretty darn certain that what happened in the past is going to repeat itself because the brain is wired for survival. This mind is the mind of survival. So I just want to be clear about what I mean by the mind. When we're using this mind, we're in the past, um, living in the past. And so most of us live as though somehow we're dropped into this life and we have to figure out how to survive because this mind is wired for survival. And you could talk about this mind as being concerned with fundamentally survival and happiness. Survival is like, how do I get through this without being killed? And this could extend to surviving death, all forms of immortality projects, as Becker calls them. And happiness would be the other concern. It's like the avoidance of suffering, so that and the pursuit of pleasure, which makes sense. So the mind basically functions on how do I make sure I'm safe, and how do I make this feel good? And if I don't feel safe and I don't feel good, then I have to hunker down and figure out how to do that. And so that becomes my life project. So money becomes like a symbol of safety for the mind. If I have enough money, I'll be fine. Romantic love. If I find the right partner who can complete me and give what I didn't get in the past, then I'll be whole. Achievement becomes kind of a symbol of legitimacy. I'll be legitimate if I can achieve certain things. And approval, if everyone likes me, then I know I will belong. And so life for this mind, for the survival mind, becomes the pursuit of these things. And then if I finally get all these things, I can relax. But, the tragedy is, based on sort of my experience, is that the ego actually never arrives at that. Because ego is kind of based on the mind of this mind of ego is based on the assumption that something is always missing, and it lives in the myth of insufficiency for good reason. And so the language I use for this, what constitutes the ego is core unconscious beliefs, which cubs, so we learn because we were set up to learn beliefs or conclusions or interpretations of reality, like I don't matter, I'm not enough, I'm not wanted, I don't belong, I'm alone, I'm unsafe, I'm bad is another one. And so the personality gets organized around those beliefs and the awful feelings associated with them, because those feelings will always be around shame. And so we structure a personality to compensate for them, and that compensation I just call CABs, compensatory actions and beliefs. So that's where people pleasing comes in, right? Perfectionism, overachieving, control, sort of hyper vigilance, caretaking everybody, performing good enough to feel like I matter and I belong. And it's important to point, just to clarify that this structure is not bad. It's not evil. It's adapted. It's a survival system. If it functions under, if I am what others need me to be, then I'll finally feel safe and secure. And those of you who know this pattern know that, because most of us are in it, to be honest. There's exhaustion and there's resentment, because the project is to substantiate yourself, to feel like you're inherently of substance, like I'm legitimate, I matter. And that's as I've stated, a never-ending project. And so, there's a great misunderstanding that happens. I'm just going to check to see if anyone else is here. And indeed, people are just coming in. Welcome, new people. We're just talking about the importance of aligning mind and heart. And I've been just reviewing how the mind says that when we're talking about the mind in this way, it's the mind of ego, which comes down to the brain, which is a predictive machine, predicts the future based on the past. And if we were hurt in the past, it predicts that there's a catastrophe waiting for us. And this is basically the survivor self. So when we're talking about the mind, especially in terms of spiritual circles, etc., this is usually the mind that's we're talking about, the survivor self, which has to prove itself, justify itself, substantiate itself in order to belong, to be loved, to feel like it matters. And I was just reviewing cubs, those core unconscious beliefs, and then the personality, which is the compensation for that, which is the CABs, how we compensate for this, and that becomes the people pleasing self. So just hope that catches you up. And then I was going into the great misunderstanding. And if someone has their audio on, could you just turn it off? There's just a bit of an echo. So the project that the ego gets in is like, I have to generate safety. I have to, it's acquisitive, it's on the take. I must engineer love into existence. I have to work hard to get safety. But now what I'm referring to is the heart. The heart already knows I belong to life itself. No. The heart knows it's safe, that the universe has its back. The heart just knows these things intuitively. The ego kind of believes that I have to kind of force reality to cooperate with my plans. And the heart feels that life isn't against me. I am the presence of life wanting to generate life, not that things are aligned against me. The ego assumes deficiency and insufficiency, and the heart starts from wholeness. And that intuitive knowing of the heart changes everything. Because I can go from being on the take, I can go from trying, managing, calculating, monitoring, performing, protecting, to liberating my attention for something else, because that's all the mind, that's all the attention of this mind can basically be concerned with. But then if we're liberated from that, our attention can shift to creativity, to whatever it means not to be on the take, for service, for authentic service, for relationship, for beauty, for and importantly, I think, for possibility. Because that's a major thing that goes offline when we're in our survivor mind, is that we're not thinking of what's possible. We're not thinking of the domain of infinite possibility. We're hunkered down. So possibility comes online with the heart, and the capacity, therefore, to not generate, not work hard at shaping the future, but intending a future into being, because the heart is located in this realm of infinite possibility, and in a sense can sort of order up a new reality and wait on it and act on it, but it doesn't have to grasp for it. So I hope you're getting the feel for the difference between what I'm talking about, the egoic mind, the brain, this part of us that doesn't want to reenact the past because that's terribly painful, and so tries to organize a life in such a way that I don't have to feel that way again. But in the process of organizing a life through this survival consciousness, it brings all its attention to, what do I have to do to be loved? What do I have to do to be safe? What do I have to do to survive? So, but what I'm talking about as heart is fundamentally creative. And as I mentioned, when we're in ego, we're not asking what's possible here. We're just asking, what do I have to do to avoid another catastrophe? To avoid the catastrophe of feeling that terrible shame which caused me to organize a personality in the first place. So that's what I'm talking about here. When we're aligning, to talk about aligning the heart and the mind, is to shift the mind's function from sort of being the master to being the servant. And what does it serve? It serves what we're calling the heart. And it's not that the heart is sort of naive possibility. It's not a denial of suffering, but it is deeper than all the circumstances and conditions. It knows something we know in our hearts, something that the egoic mind has forgotten, that, it's all a gift. So that we're already participating in something that's infinitely intelligent. You can call it God, consciousness, source, life. Doesn't really matter what we call it. But when we're in this place, the heart trusts reality in a way that ego learned not to. Ego's always like this. And the heart is like this. It's available, it's receptive, it's grateful. Comes from humility, place of humility. And the thing about this is why I call the ego the trying self, is it feels like it's got to try hard to justify its existence, to belong, to be loved. It's marked by trying, by effort. And it's necessarily on the take, using everybody and everything to reassure itself that it's not shameful, that it's not bad, that it does belong. You see my point here. So, and the point here is that we don't want to sort of destroy ego or to destroy this mind, just more to be grateful for it, but to understand it and to come into a compassionate relationship with mind. And it's through this compassionate relationship that the alignment starts to happen. Whenever we feel ourselves hunkering down in that state of contraction, we learn the practice of being tender with ourselves, not being judgmental, but surrounding that. As we go, oh, look, okay, I'm doing that thing. Time to stop, time to breathe, time to put a hand on my heart, time to sort of feel the energies going down into the earth and feel the energies of sort of the higher consciousness sort of meeting, these two energies meeting in the heart and recentering ourselves. And so the heart begins to be the sovereign being. It begins to be the context for all the survival narratives that are running, all the interpretations we have of reality that make us sure that we're under attack again, that we need to fight. But when this alignment starts to happen through self-compassion, that the need to prove yourself ends, for example. You stop asking, how do I get love? How do I get you to love me? And you start asking, like, what is it that wants to be lived through me? What wants to materialize in this realm of time and space as the fullest expression of me? You stop the performance, right? That's the other way of putting it. Stop the performance and you just start creating, just letting yourself be, express yourself, just be spontaneous, see what happens, because it's not so critical what other people are thinking about you, what they might be judging about you. It's like you can relax, you're a little more lighthearted. So what begins to happen is the life force starts to flow through us again. We start to feel more alive, more generous. We're not on the take, so we love to give. More grateful. I got another chance to be today. I woke up and, whoa, okay, here's another day. We can be more courageous. We can take more risks because everything isn't on the line. And we shift from being the victim of life, from this sense that shit is happening to me, to life is happening through me. So I think that's the practice, is noticing when we're still organizing our lives around proving to the world that we're somebody, that we're worthy of love, that we're legitimate. And instead, the mind slowly begins to come into alignment with what the heart already knows. It's just the universe comes equipped with this, localized as you and localized as me, that you and I were never lacking substance, but we got disconnected from it because of probably early treatment or something that happened to us in the past that made us question that. The heart doesn't need to suddenly sort of search for its worthiness because it already participates in this condition of essential worthiness, because this is like we're the localized presence of the big heart, big the big mind. So they want to shift into the mind of the heart, if you like. And so this work that I'm committed to now is just like, or one way to talk about it is the surrendering of the egoic project, seeing it for what it is, and then being willing rather to enter into this ongoing practice, this ongoing meditation of being alert to when I'm acting from the past, when I'm interpreting reality, when I'm interpreting what's happening to me from the past. So that's what this work is, in my opinion. This alignment of mind and heart, where the we get the beautiful power of the mind to come into alignment with what the heart already knows. Then we create our life from that place. And that can, what I'm describing. I mean, I was going to say it's a sort of a lifetime project, but it can happen very quickly too. Like we get glimpses into this. Sometimes, we're in prayer, we're in meditation, or put our hand on our heart, or for some reason we are able to relax, and there it is. We realign, and suddenly the world looks very different. The world we're experiencing is like, we see the beauty again. We see that there's nothing essentially wrong, that life is unfolding as it should. It's we don't, and our role, our task is to enter into that unfolding, and without having to engineer, without having to try too hard, without having to effort too hard, and just stay in that flow. And then when we pop out of the flow, as we're going to, it's like learning to come back in, learning to breathe again, learning to relax, and learning what it is actually to fashion a future which is not like making the future happen, because that's the egoic project, but rather it's like putting an order in a restaurant. It's like you can get to a place where you actually say, oh, this is what I'd like off the menu of infinite possibilities. It's like, oh, that'd be great, and we're willing to have it, and we're willing to act on it as if it's already happening. And then those possibilities come into being in their own time. But this is the conversation about manifestation, and it's probably another another talk that I'll give in the future. Okay, I'll end there, and I'd love to hear from you.